Break the chain of corruption now. Don't give, don't take. This message is brought to you by ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Good day, viewers. Welcome to Corruption Must Go, ICPC's weekly television program. I'm your host, Hawa Garba. Today on the program, we celebrate the life and times of the pioneer chairman of ICPC, Honorable Justice Muhammad Mustapha Adebayo Akanbi, PCA, retired, CFR. We shall also bring you updates on anti-corruption activities, some notable quotes from Justice Akanbi, drama and other interesting segments. Let us begin by joining Joy Aja for anti-corruption stories.
Thank you for staying tuned and welcome to this segment on anti-corruption stories. I am Joy Aja. ICPC has arraigned the suspended Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, Dr. Munir Haliru Gwarzo, over an allegation of misappropriating 115.8 million naira. Mr. Gwarzo and the Commissioner in SEC, Mr. Zakawanu Garuba, are both facing a 5-count charge before Justice Hassan Yusuf Baba of Court 4, High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Gwarzo was accused of paying himself 115.8 million naira severance package and car allowance in 2015, while still in the service of SEC, while Garuba is facing allegations of approving 10.9 million naira for the car allowance. ICPC's counsel, Henry Emore, informed the court that their actions were contrary to the provisions of Section 19 of the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000. The accused persons pleaded not guilty to all the charges when they were read to them. Counsel to the accused, A.U. Mustapha and A.A. Malik, pleaded for bail from the courts since their client had kept to the conditions of the administrative bail which ICPC had given them. Justice Baba, in his ruling, granted the accused bail in the sum of 25 million naira each, with a surety who is not below the rank of a deputy director in the Federal Public Service, resident in and has landed property in the FCT. He also ordered that the documents of the properties and the international passports of the accused persons should be submitted to the court. The case was adjourned to 28th and 29th of June for hearing. For being in possession of fake medical reports from a Maitama Abuja District Hospital, a woman, Miss Inaku Victoria Oko, has been convicted and sentenced to 2 years imprisonment by Justice Olukayode Adeniyi of the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Miss Oko was brought before the court by ICPC and accused of procuring a fake medical report in the name of one Anyuku Richard Chinonso, which was intended to enable him travel to India for medical treatment. The commission, in a 4-count charge, said that the convict also procured a fake chemical pathology laboratory report in the name of the same Chinonso, which was intended to support a visa application that would enable him to travel abroad. Ms. Oko was convicted and sentenced to 6 months in jail without an option of fine on each of the counts. The sentences will run concurrently. That will be all on this segment. Corruption Must Go continues with Hawa. Stay with us.
Born on the 11th of September 1932 in Accra, Ghana, where he also had his secondary education, Justice Muhammad Mustapha Akanbi moved back home and through a scholarship studied law at the then Institute of Administration, now Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, followed by legal studies in the United Kingdom. He was called to the English bar in 1963 and then the Nigerian bar in 1964. He joined the Ministry of Justice and became a senior state counsel in 1968. In 1969, he set up private practice in Kano. In 1974, Justice Akanbi was appointed a judge of the Federal Revenue Court, and in January 1977, he was elevated to the Court of Appeal bench. In 1992, he was made president of the Nigerian Court of Appeal, a position he held till 1999 when he retired. In the year 2000, President Olusegun Obasanjo appointed Akanbi as the first chairman of ICPC alongside 12 board members, 2 from each 6 geopolitical zone, to champion the fight against corruption in Nigeria, a position he held till 2005. As the pioneer chairman of ICPC, Justice Akanbi demonstrated uncommon integrity and competence in institution building. Staff of the commission were greatly saddened at the news of his demise and promptly organized a valedictory session to honor the man Akanbi.
We're here to honor a very great man, the one who laid the foundation for this commission. We're here to pay tribute to the pioneer chairman of this commission. And I would say that there is no tribute that can be enough to describe Justice M.A. Akanbi. Indeed, his story can never be completely told. Everybody that has had anything to say about Justice Akanbi has only a positive commentary on his person. According to one of the commentators on his life that I read, he said Justice Akanbi was a father, an elder statesman, non-partisan statesman, a man of impeccable integrity, an intellectual by all means and by all measures, and an achieving, untiring non-state actor and activist. If you know his philanthropic life, you will understand this.
He wanted people of integrity to work with him. And I want to tell you that institutions similar to ICPC are able to excel today as a result of integrity. And when we talk about this great man, I want you to think about your life in ICPC. Are you upholding integrity? We're talking about a man who was an epitome of integrity. A man who fought corruption to a standstill.
He taught us courage, he taught us zeal, he taught us to be fearless. Mr. Bako has told us how he exemplified fairness. Mrs. Onogu told us how he exemplified religious tolerance. He wouldn't want to know where you came from.
Indeed, being the pioneer chairman of ICPC, Justice Akanbi had to cross a lot of hurdles to build a solid foundation of transparency and integrity for the commission, amidst working with a large board comprising 12 members. Some of the legal amendment proposals he made to the National Assembly for more efficiency and effectiveness of the commission include reduction of board members from 12 to 6. This, he said, would fast-track the decision-making process.
Counting officer, and you have so many other law officers. In fact, it starts from A to P. Now, the effect is that the executive chairman is able to take a decision without even calling meetings. With the ICPC, you have to have a quorum of 4, including the chairman or the whole house, as the case may be. And in the process, decision making was becoming difficult, and we felt, and it's the only one, unlike the other bodies, the ICPC access to from geopolitical action. That in itself for me is profit. And if you must accommodate the federal character of our sector, you said one member from each geopolitical zone is enough.
Akanbi wanted a widened scope for ICPC to include the private sector. He also asked for a specific provision that would make for interdiction, which is actually a suspension of officers that have been indicted for corruption pending determination of their cases.
Go and do investigation. The governor of the state went straight to the office of the state security there and sacked all our people to leave the place. Now, what can you imagine when the matter has to go to court with a judge under him? Now we then said there are two possibilities: either to have a tribunal or to have one court, that is the federal court, whose judges can be posted from Maiduguri to Enugu, where he knows nobody.
Justice Akanbi achieved remarkable success in the new uncharted waters of anti-corruption in the country. Spokesperson for the commission, Mrs. Rashidat Okodua, who is also one of the pioneer staff of the commission, speaks on his legacies.
Yeah, relax. That is my brother and I want him out of this station now. Okay. Can I just see the IPO of this case? IPO, how are you?
No, welcome, sir.
That is my brother and I want him out of this station now.
Do you know the offense he has committed, sir?
What do you guys want for your weekend? Okay, let me see your DPO.
This way, sir.
Oh, better. You don't know who is here. That boy is my brother. And I want you to assist me to free him.
The man found his gun, confessed to robbery.
Things like this happen. 200,000 naira for you.
Are you bribing me?
500,000 naira.
Robbery suspect?
1 million naira.
That is corruption. Not allowed in this division.
1 million.
Remember, police is your friend. Giving and taking bribe is wrong.
Corruption, not in my country.
Stop corruption now.
Corruption not in my country.
Thank you very much. There were many achievements, and I'll try to enumerate a few. Given the fact that he was the pioneer chairman, he was the one that started off ICPC from absolute nothing. That's at the background. By the time I start enumerating his achievements, you begin to appreciate the weightiness of these achievements when you consider the fact that he had nothing on ground. One of his achievements was leaving behind a solid foundation, administrative foundation for ICPC. He established the ICPC, the administration and everything relating to ICPC. He and his board members. He also achieved having on ground a body of committed and loyal staff. Getting people to buy into the anti-corruption cause or crusade is not easy because we are all from the same society. But the board of Justice Akanbi, the board that Justice Akanbi led, achieved that because the way they brought staff in convinced all the staff that they had to be committed to anti-corruption because they came in here without lobbying of any kind, and that imbued them with a lot of enthusiasm for the work. So he achieved that. He also achieved a very sharp operational focus for ICPC. ICPC has a three-pronged mandate of enforcement, prevention, and education against against corruption. And Justice Akanbi focused on those three areas. For enforcement, he had an uncompromising attitude towards enforcement of the law. It was during his time that we had judges being taken they were investigated and they were charged to court. We had 7 ministers who were investigated and charged to court. If we all recollect, there was a minister then, I have forgotten what minister he was, but he was, I think, Chief Afolabi, who was then being investigated by ICPC for the national ID scam. You know, he passed on in London during that investigation that we were doing. We also, during Justice Akambi's time, we also investigated
the National Assembly, the leadership of the National Assembly. There was this scandal about bribe for budget. It involved the Minister of Education at that time. There was this allegation that the Senate or senators or the Senate President then, who was Adolphus Wabara, that they had asked for a bribe of 50 million naira from the Minister of Education, Fabian Osuji, at that time, for to pass the budget for education for the Ministry of Education. And ICPC got involved in this matter, investigated the matter, and charged the culprits to court. So Justice Akanbi was a fearless enforcer of the law. So he had an uncompromising attitude that he also achieved a lot in the area of prevention against corruption. He along with his board, established what we have come to know as ACTUs, anti-corruption and transparency units in ministries, departments, and agencies. This was done in conjunction with the head of service. ICPC had the idea, had the concept, and and the Federal Executive Council approved that concept, and then the head of service sent out notices to all MDAs that they should establish ACTUs. These ACTUs still exist today as living testimonies to the achievement of Justice Akanbi during his time. They still carry on preventive work in their ministries. They still carry on sensitization and enlightenment against corruption. They still make reports of corrupt practices to ICPC. He also achieved a lot in terms of system study and of government ministries and agencies, studying their systems and processes, and to correct those systems that are seen to be prone to corrupt practices. On education, mobilizing the public against corruption, there were a series of conferences and seminars that we held under the Justice Akanbi administration to sensitize Nigerian public. There were seminars held in geopolitical zones. On the education mandate of ICPC, Justice Akanbi's administration achieved quite a lot. We had seminars from across the geopolitical zones in the country. We had a bar and bench conference. That is a conference with judges and lawyers to get them to a common understanding of anti-corruption issues, which was pretty crucial because we have always needed, and we still need, judiciary in carry out a very, very robust anti-corruption crusade. So from the very beginning, Justice Akanbi sought to get their buy-in into the anti-corruption crusade. That we did through a conference that we held with them. We also had collaboration with NYSC. That collaboration still stands till today. That was initiated during the time of Justice Akanbi. And the National Values Curriculum, which is a standing legacy of ICPC's intervention into the education sector in the country. Through that curriculum, Nigerian children are taught anti-corruption values of honesty, integrity across several subjects, and that happened during Justice Akanbi's time. The idea of an academy for ICPC was also initiated by Justice Akanbi. Today, an academy stands that is called Anti-Corruption Academy of Nigeria. It started from the germ of the idea of Justice Akanbi, which later flourished into what it is today. Under Justice Akanbi, a lot was achieved in terms of staff training. Justice Akanbi attracted international training for the staff. We had the U.S. Department of Justice coming into Nigeria with resource persons to train our prosecutors and our investigators. Anti-corruption was a totally new area for Nigeria, and Justice Akanbi was able to attract international training and trainers for staff. Staff were sent abroad. I happen to have been a beneficiary of such a training in the US during his administration, and several staff were also trained as well. Then he also operationally established, I told you earlier that he established a very firm administrative foundation that also cut across into operational areas. It was during his time that he established what is known as fast-track investigating teams, and that still stands till today. For certain issues, they are just sent to those fast-track people to expedite and get results out for the commission. So there's so many achievements, I can't begin to say all of them. Legacies. Number one legacy is a legacy of uncompromising integrity. That will stand for as long as time exists. in memory of Justice Akanbi. He left behind that legacy of integrity. He also left behind a tradition of attention to detail. He was a very meticulous person that also encouraged staff to be meticulous in what they did. So that will also stand as a legacy to him. That keen attention to detail is a legacy he left behind. He also left behind a sense of untiring dedication to duty. Justice Akanbi would work until the wee hours of the morning. I recall that some investigators, some prosecutors would even leave office, go to his house and be working with him till 2 a.m. When you work with such a tireless person, there is no way, it gets into you as a staff. You imbibe that as well. So he left that behind, a fervor for work, for hard work. And he also left behind a legacy for mentoring of subordinates. He was a good mentor. No matter who you were, no matter how lowly placed you were, if you had cause to work with him one-on-one, he would sit you down, point out your errors to you, whatever it is you have prepared for him, reason with you, get you to understand it. So that kind of person that is mentored in that manner will not do any less for subordinates, under him or her. So he left behind that legacy as well. He also left behind a legacy of institution building and patriotism. He made you understand that this institution had to stand, and that it's not a question about strong personalities, but a strong institution. Your loyalty must be for the commission and must be for the country. He left that behind. He also left behind a legacy of absolute objectivity, without bias for ethnicity or religion. No. In a nutshell, he will be remembered for his uncompromising integrity and principles. I'm privileged to have a copy of his autobiography, and I discovered that it's not something, he didn't start practicing integrity because they made him chairman ICPC. Integrity had been a part of him from when he was young. And I experienced this firsthand. The fact that he had been a man of integrity from a long time before, I experienced it firsthand when in 2003, the then National Assembly wanted to repeal the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000 and replace it with another law made in 2003. Of course, the new law sought to remove some powers from ICPC. And we were asked to attend the public hearing of that new law. And at that session, Justice Akanbi faced the senators one-on-one and asked each one of them in turn, do you dare question the integrity of the organization that I head? And there and then, all of the distinguished senators apologized to Justice Akanbi that, sir, we had known you from time before, when you practiced in Kano as a lawyer. We had known you when you were on the bench as a judge. We knew you when you were president of Court of Appeal. Sir, we are sorry, sir. They apologized to him. I was there. And that spoke volumes to me. That what we do, what we do now, is not for only now, it's for the future. He never knew they were going to make him ICPC chairman when he had had a reputation for being a person of integrity. So, without mincing words, he'll be remembered for being Mr. Integrity.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Justice Mustapha Akanbi was a well-respected nationalist who was also known for his exemplary, honest lifestyle. He was an accomplished judicial officer of enviable integrity. Surely he will be remembered for his enormous contributions to the fight against corruption in Nigeria. That's our package for today. Thank you for watching. Good night, viewers.